Hello everybody and welcome to the Midnight McBride Show, show 51. And this is Midnight in Paris, part 2. And I'm still in the studio with Currency Enthusiast, Paris Brookes. All right, Paris?
Yeah, mate, how you going?
Yeah, good. So, right, show 1, we covered your journey up to this point, and crypto, we're just about to touch on your first experience of crypto. This stemmed initially then, so your business mind was probably switched on when you were at university because you studied business management and you got into the family business. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So from a young age, I was working with my family. So we used to be in retail, women's retail fashion. So from the age of 9, I was in the shops when someone couldn't look after me.
Trying on all the dresses.
Yeah, something like that.
I've worn a dress on occasion. Nothing wrong with that.
More doing the boring jobs like separating hangers, stock take.
You catch me back. I've been doing spinning around swirling trying all the outfits on, I think. Yeah.
Cheap slave labour. So I studied international business management in university. It was a part-time, well, it was full-time, but you only went in for 2 full days rather than having lectures sporadically over the week. So it worked out perfectly for me. So what I did is I worked part-time during the weekends behind a bar, usually Friday, Saturday and Sunday if there was anything on. And then during the week, I'd either be at uni or be in Manchester working in our showroom. Because we went from, at this point, we weren't doing retail anymore and we were doing wholesaling.
Right. And this sort of was your first taste of really, I don't know, money, making money, how it all works, and switch your brain on a little bit here.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Crypto then. In your show notes, this is the first time you encounter or become aware of crypto. Yeah. So how did that come about?
So how I discovered crypto was through the dark web. There was a website called Silk Road, which was essentially the eBay of drugs.
Yes.
So I'd heard about this.
There's a documentary about it, isn't
there?
Yeah.
It's called
Pirate something. He was called the guy, wasn't he?
Yeah. So it's called Silk Road because Valley Barber or something, isn't it?
Right. Dread Pirate Roberts or something was his name or something.
Something
like that. Yeah.
So I've looked into it. I've gone on it. I've figured out how to go on the dark web. You have to download the Tor browser and use weird web addresses, which are just letters and numbers. Go on it. Find Silk Road. I'm like, oh, brilliant, I can buy drugs. How do you buy it? It's like thinking I can just put my credit card in and then it comes up with Bitcoin. So I'm like, hell's a Bitcoin? So then I researched what Bitcoin was. I went on Reddit forums, started reading about it. And there were obviously people saying how to get it and how to use it to buy anything online. There were also people saying, this is going to be worth £1,000 and $1,000, in 3-4 years' time. This is an investment.
Yeah.
And I had no investment knowledge at this point whatsoever, but there was something about it. Everyone was talking about this new thing, and I was always on a computer, me growing up. If you couldn't find me, I was on my computer doing something. Whenever someone in my family needs something done on the computer, I'm the guy to do it. And I'm not the most technically minded person with a computer, but I know my way around it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I kind of understood what they were talking about, although I didn't at all, because there wasn't much information on it at the time.
Yeah.
I decided to look into it, and the more I looked into it, the more I was like, I just knew that what they were saying was true.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So I believed what they were saying, even though I didn't know really how to invest or really what it meant.
It's a way of moving money outside of banks, isn't it? Shifting an economy that exists independent of banks, and that's what was, I think, very attractive to everybody initially. Yeah. Certainly if you're selling arms and laundering money and drugs, this kind of thing. Yeah,
exactly.
Tell us, because we've still got a bit more of your story to do before we go full on into crypto, but if you, and I couldn't believe these figures, some of these figures were quoted to me and I thought, obviously they've got that wrong. Obviously.
Yeah.
Do you think I'm an idiot? I looked them up. It's mind-blowing. If you'd have put $3,000 in there, which you did, but you took the money back out initially, but what would it be worth now?
Currently, it would be about 150, 180, but at the peak of the run in 2017, 2018, it went up to 300,000.
I wish I'd have put $3,000 in then, but it's part of your journey. And in order, my journey is made up of, I don't call them mistakes, I call them lessons.
Mm-hmm.
And for me to be here now, meditating, pretty happy, doing something I love, surrounded by people I love, and having a pleasant life, I had to go through all those things. And I could look back and think, but I blew a few $100,000 on drugs at the time, or maybe because, you know, I ruined relationships, or, you know, I crashed cars, or all the things I did, or I was violent, because I was very violent.
Yeah.
All of those things, but it was a necessary part of my journey, you know, and so they weren't mistakes, they were lessons, and some of them I had to learn many times.
Yeah.
You know, so you can always look back and think, oh, you know, it would have been $300,000, but if you'd have made that money then, would you even be, you know, would you still be alive now? Maybe you would have been taking drugs. You don't know, do you?
I would have been 25 with £300,000 and none of the knowledge that I acquired.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have had to. So I know I would have spunked it.
Yeah.
I know I would have.
Yeah. So we'll keep on with your life journey for a little while before we go full on crypto, because I've got a rake of questions, because I thought I knew quite a bit, and then when somebody asked me, I thought, actually, I don't know as much as I thought I did, you know, and I maybe don't know very much at all.
Yeah.
You know, a man who thinks he knows everything knows very little. A man who realises how little he knows might know something, you know.
I like it.
This next little story, Paris, tickles me. I know it shouldn't, because it's not funny in theory, but I find humour in everything. And this is, you're going on holiday. You're going on holiday with your girlfriend, not your best mate. You tell your best mate, he takes a shed load of ketamine and then threatens you all with a knife. I'm sorry, I know it's not funny, but life is full of these dramas, and what I find funny is the fact that when you're that age, you become this, you're insecure. I don't mean you, but maybe your friend. You're insecure and you experience things like jealousy, and that's my best friend, and, you know, your ego's involved, all these emotions that you haven't figured out yet, and all these feelings you have. And you end up with bizarre behaviour like this, which seems ludicrous now, but at that age, this kind of silly shit happens a lot, doesn't it?
Of course it does.
You know, I could tell you stories about things I experienced, and stupid shit that you think you couldn't write it happened, drama happened in my life all the time.
Yeah.
Not so much now. So tell us this story, because it's good.
So originally, me and him were meant to be going travelling together, and we spoke about it, and we picked where we were going to go, etc. Then my girlfriend at the time walks into my life, and we get together. It gets a bit serious.
Bros before hoes, mate.
Yeah.
That's what I don't mean to offend anybody, but that's what they used to say, isn't it? You know, that was the slang.
I don't think either of them will ever see this, hopefully. But so that's just completely thrown me off.
I'm sorry.
I'm just laughing in my head.
Sorry, Paris.
It's fine. So
you and your best mate, you're going on holiday, but then your girlfriend said,
So I'm with her, and I'm like, right, this is a bit awkward. So I've mentioned it to her, and she's like, well, I'll go with you. So I'm thinking, perfect, right? This is serious. I love her.
Yeah.
If I go traveling with my best friend, she's not going to be here in 6 months. She's not going to wait. I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
I can't ask that of her. If I go with her, my best friend will still be there for me, though. In theory.
Or he might try and kill you.
Yeah. So I said it to her and explained to her. I was like, listen, mate, I know we really wanted to go traveling together. I hope you understand, but I really love her. And as I just said to you, I said to him, you'll always be here for me because you're my best friend. Well, she's not going to wait for me. And he's like, yeah, that's fine, no problem, whatever.
Oh, so he said it's okay initially.
Yeah. He didn't say anything about it, nothing at all. So then we go away to Croatia to a festival hideout. And on the first night, we're drinking because the festival hasn't started yet. And he brings it up. So we're sat on this harbour having a proper heart-to-heart for like 2 hours. And he's like, you're my brother, man. I can't believe you've done this to me. I'm like, mate, I love you. Literally like arms around each other, proper dramatic. Just spilling our guts out. And then, as far as I was aware, we got to like an understanding again where, all right, I get that you've got something that you hadn't expressed before. It's come out, but now you've explained it. I understand where you're coming from. I've reinforced my reasons for my decision, and it was left at that. We were happy as Larry the next day. Nothing happened. So then the festival started. It was the first day of the festival. The festival was 3 days. 3-day festival was the first day. We've been there for 4. And he comes up to me mid-festival. It's like 2 a.m. in the morning. And he brings it up again. He starts like shouting in my face, starts arguing with me about it. You're a snake. You're not my brother. Yeah. Getting really emotional. I'm just like, what's going on here? So he storms off, Comes back like 10 minutes later, and he just shows me an empty baggie. And he had ket in it, and it was full because I knew he hadn't had any ket yet. And he told me that he took a full gram.
Did he eat it or sniff it? Oh, right.
Don't know.
Yeah.
Don't know what he did with it.
Just all over his face.
Yeah. So yeah, man. So it was crazy. It was crazy. So I told the girls, because my girlfriend was with 4 or 5 of her mates. I told them, and we were kind of just watching him, but he was acting surprisingly normal for someone that's done that amount of ket in such a short period of time. And he was just sat down on the wall, and then slowly and surely, of course, he started acting a bit strange. So he started twitching and talking to himself. Yeah. But we were all watching him. We're trying to just have a good time, enjoy it, whatever. And then he starts like pushing the girl that's next to him and going, get away from me, get away from me, get away from me. So luckily the festival had closed by this point. So it just started winding down. The sun had come up. It was honestly, Croatia is one of the most beautiful countries I've ever been to in my life.
I haven't been, but I know it's beautiful. Yeah, I've seen a few films and documentaries about it, and beautiful place. Yeah.
Honestly, the festival was right on the beach, Surrey Beach, and it's just incredible. So we're walking back now, because say the club's at one end of the beach. You have to go to the other end to get a coach back to the town. So as we're walking, he just starts running away from us. So I'm obviously chasing after him. As I get closer, he's like, get away from me, like just getting so paranoid. He's like, they're after me. I'm like, mate, what are you talking about? At this point, I've not even realised what's actually really going on. Get him on the bus, and he's like, they're after me, like proper just paranoid. So the girls are like, what's happening? And I was like, well, it's obviously the cat. I just need to get him home and get him to bed. So I take him back to ours. The girls go back to theirs. They hired like a ground floor apartment. Getting back to the room, and he pushes the wardrobe in front of the door, and he's like, they're in the corridor, they're coming, can't you hear them? And I'm just like in bed, like trying to sleep, like off my head. Mate, please just get into bed and try to sleep. And he's like, mate, checking out on the balcony, under the bed, literally everywhere, shouting at me, going, you're an imposter, you're not Paris, you're not him, you're an agent. And I'm just like, what? My phone's not even in my pocket. And he's like, you're on your phone calling them now, I know who you are. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So I get my phone out, it's a blank screen, and he's like, see, there's all the messages. I'm like, mate, the phone's not even on, what are you talking? He's like, yeah, there. And I'm just like, what's happening? So I'm sat there thinking,
messed up,
yeah, big time.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, right, what can I do? And I'm just like, mate, just go have a cold shower. Go get in the shower and have a cold shower. It'll sort you out. And he looks at me and he goes, yeah, that's a good idea. It'll get the wires off of me. So I'm just like, what? Yeah, but I'm thinking, yeah, perfect. Do that. Go get the wires off you. Just playing his game. Do you know what I mean? So he strips off bollock naked in front of me, and he's standing there. He's a big lad. And I'm just like...
Big built or big hung? I don't know what you mean.
Big built. At the time, you could hardly see it. Taking a lot of drugs. Do you know what I mean? So he's jumped in the shower now, and he's in there for a good 5 minutes or so. I'm just like, right, peace and quiet. He's going to be fine. Comes out, and he's like, the wires are gone now. I'm like, perfect. He's like, and then he starts twitching again, going, no, they haven't. So I'm just like, oh, God, it's not worked. He goes into the fridge, still naked, by the way. Mm-hmm. He has a 2 litre or 2 pint carton of chocolate milkshake. He opens it, and he pours it all over himself and starts rubbing it in. So at this point...
to get the wires off.
Yeah, to get the wires off of his body. So at this point, I'm laughing my head off. Absolutely laughing my head off. I can't believe what I'm witnessing. But it doesn't solve the problem. He still thinks I'm a secret agent. He still thinks there's people trying to get in. He's still losing his mind. So eventually get on the phone to my girlfriend whilst he's shouting at me, going, stop talking to the police. And I say to her, like, what should I do? Like, can I bring him round to you guys? Because I don't know what to do.
That's a good idea, isn't it? I can't handle him. He's seriously out of control. I'll just bring him round yours.
But she was the sensible one.
Yeah,
you see?
of course.
Do you know what I mean? So I've taken him, I've got him dressed, and we're walking. As we're walking, he's still super paranoid. We come out of our hotel, and it was like down a dirt track. So as we're walking, there's another couple at the end of the road. And he's gone up to him and goes, the secret agent's after me. And they're looking at me like, what's going on here? And I'm like, don't worry, no, he's fine. The guy's got a massive bottle of water. He's like, here, mate, have some of this. He goes, yeah, good idea. Looks at him, looks at the water, pours it all on the floor. Goes, you're trying to poison me, and throws it in his face. And they're just like, what the fuck? And then runs off. So I've had to chase after him. He's jumped over this fence and starts running across a farm, chasing after him again, eventually catch him. Obviously, bear in mind, he's running away from me as well because he thinks I'm a secret agent.
Yeah.
Getting back to the main road, and we're on way to my girlfriends and the girls. So then he starts trying to jump in the road to kill himself because he's like, they're going to get me. I might as well just kill myself. So as cars are coming past, he's going like this, like jolting.
It's not a good night, this, is it?
No,
not going well.
So like anxiety levels up to here, like full level. I'm thinking my mate's going to kill himself and there's nothing I can do. He's bigger than me. I just have to try and get in the way and hope that I can get there in time. And he doesn't do it. Obviously, he didn't end up jumping in the road. But fortunately,
he ended up pulling a knife on you and your girlfriend and her friends. And stuff.
So I don't know which one works out better. But so we get to the girl's apartment, and my girlfriend opens the door, and she's just like, "Are you right?" And he ignores her and he pushes her out the way. Well, he pushes past her.
Yeah.
Goes straight into the kitchen, opens the drawer and picks up 2 cutting knives. All the other girls are sleeping, so he's gone into their rooms. Get up now, get up. Goes into the other room, get up now.
I bet they were all terrified, weren't they?
They literally woke up with a knife in their faces like this. So I'm just standing there completely powerless. So whilst this is happening, I'm stood in the hallway just thinking, and this is a crazy thought to have, but I was just like, I'm going to have to maybe kill my friend.
Yeah.
And I was literally going through the processes of, all right, what do I need to do? I need to go into the kitchen, get a knife as well and stop him.
How did you bring it to a close then? Did he eventually calm down, or did this go on for a while?
So the girls got up. I told him to come outside with me because I was just like playing along with his fantasy. And I was like, I'm the one that you want, so let's go outside. So eventually, whilst I'm saying this, he's actually got the knife to my girlfriend's throat at this point. So then he gets me outside and I'm talking to him. He's like, prove to me you're Paris. So I'm like, ask me anything. Like, because he was my brother, man. I knew everything about him and he did the same. So he started asking me loads of questions. When's my birthday? What's my mum's name? Obviously answered all of them. And he's like, you're not Paris, you're an imposter. So he's got me now on my knees, knife to my throat, basically making me beg for my life. I'm like, please, mate, don't do this. And as he goes to stab me, he goes and starts feigning and stabbing himself. It was really weird. So then he spent like a good 5 minutes like looking at this knife going, whilst I'm just kind of like, mate, stop it, please, no. And then he just ran off again. So by this point, we're talking, it must have been like 7, 8 in the morning.
Yeah, I bet you're all highly strung, stressed out. It's horrible, isn't it?
Yeah. Starving, dehydrated. I've been dancing. We had a day party and then the night party. So I've been up for more than 24 hours. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can imagine. So he's ran off and he's ended up at the harbour and he's just sat at the harbour. He won't speak to us. He won't respond, but at least he's not doing anything crazy. Yeah. So he puts down the knives. As soon as he puts them down, I ran over and just grabbed him and threw him in the sea. And then I just sat there with him. Well, he was in the distance. I sat away where I could still see him, just watching him. And the whole time he was like talking to himself and twitching and rolling around the floor and just being strange.
Yeah, well, that's Cat for you. I told you earlier when we were chatting that we'd be at a party, we'd line up ketamine and we'd sniff it, and the back door was 20 feet away. And the deal was you had to sniff this line of cat and get out the back door. Nobody could make it. We had several go. You'd sniff this cat and then you'd get about 10, 12 feet. You'd just be walking, think, well, it's easy. And then you'd just collapse in a puddle on the floor and we'd end up and you'd trying to clamber your way to the back door and nobody ever made it. It was messy times, yeah. You also, Paris, mentioned about another holiday that didn't go so great, and your father punched you, and then you punched him back, which took a lot of courage when you're, a younger man, a child. And then I think your mum got caught in the crossfire and she got a punch, and you had to sort of get everybody together and fly home. You've had a few. I think you should just stay in this country and then you'd be okay, really, and stay away from all that.
I get itchy feet, unfortunately.
Yeah. Then in your last year of uni, this is when So you put money in crypto, you took it out, and then you tried trading, and you read a lot of books on it. So tell us a bit about that. So this is pre-crypto, before you went back into crypto, but tell us, so you decided you want to make some money trading.
Yeah. So I had money in the crypto at this point. I understood that it may be something in the future, but I had no knowledge of investment.
Yeah.
So the event that happened when I was on holiday with my family, with it being a family business, I'm thinking, right, I need to get a full-time job and make some money because I need to look after my brother and my mum, because this isn't going to be a family anymore. We're going to break up. So I was looking at jobs and I was like, this isn't going to be enough money to do this.
Yeah.
So I literally Googled how to make money online, and trading was one of the first things that come up. So I looked into it. It's something that I kind of briefly looked over before, but never actually tried to do. And I realized that, I can make shitloads of money from doing this. So then I started reading up on it and studying it. Took all my money out of crypto, which was worth at this point about £1,200, I think, from my original investment.
Yeah.
And put it into a trading account. And I built my strategy up. Literally, I spent all my time in my office doing this, and I was making 3 to 5% on my account every week profit. The problem was my account wasn't big enough to withdraw. So although I got good at it, I couldn't do anything with it.
So it's an amazing return, but it's a return on not a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what you really needed then was investors, isn't it? But obviously, if you're not an established financial institution, that's very difficult unless you borrow money off your family and things like this, isn't it? So
exactly. They didn't have any money, unfortunately. And also, the dynamics of trading with a £1,000 account is very different to 10,000 or 100,000 or a million.
Yeah.
Different psychology.
Yeah. And you also then came across The Secret. I originally saw the movie because it's one of the few books that was a film before it was a book, rather than the other way around. And it's Rhonda Bryan, and it changed my life. And I showed you pre-show, I've got my entire back is covered with quotes from The Secret. And it was, I think, in 2007, 2006, I think, when I first read it. And it was set me back. I was spiritual up until about the age of 18 or 19, and then I got lost in the matrix, basically consumed by anger and my ego and material things.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until I was probably, in my 30s, then I started to open my mind again and open my heart again. And The Secret was the start of that. The Secret was the start of that for me. And some people say, that's old hat, and they poo-poo it a bit and talk about other books and stuff. But I've been back and reread it and rewatched the movie. And each time I still pick something up because you forget. It might be simple, but there's things you forget. And it's very powerful for manifesting, and I love it. So it obviously had an impact on you too.
Yeah. I didn't understand. I hadn't even heard of the concept of law of attraction, really. My mum tried to explain it to me when she was going through her awakening, but I didn't really consciously listen. So she actually gifted me that book for my 18th birthday, perhaps, but I didn't read it. It was just sat there for ages because I never read books. The only books I ever read were books I had to read at school. I picked up Harry Potter once and got to like chapter 3, and
I was the same. I still don't read fiction, although that I have read The Alchemist and a couple of Paulo Coelho books. But beyond that, it's psychology and self-help and motivation, things like that. And so I didn't read for years. But once I got into the books that I was interested in, I was rattling through them. I was reading a couple of books a week. I loved it. And you also read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Is that right?
Yeah, that was the first finance book I read.
Yeah.
That changed my perspective of things. Of course, one of the lessons is you need to know what an asset and what a liability is. So I owned a car at the time, which was a liability, but I saw it as an asset, which wasn't true.
Yeah. If you're pumping money into something and it depreciates, it's a liability. And so a caravan's a fabulous thing, especially if you use it. And it's a good thing to have if you value your quality of life and spending time with your family, things like this. But is it an investment? Not really. I suppose you could say it's an investment in your well-being, but yeah, it depreciates. Whereas a house is considered to be an investment, After this then, Paris, you actually went on your travels again, and you said there was a lot of drama, and you went to Australia.
Did.
Whereabouts did you go?
So I ended up in Sydney, Australia.
I got married, didn't last very long, but I got married in the Sydney Opera House, the Botanical Gardens there,
Lovely.
and Sydney is just a fantastic place, beautiful city, and I actually went into the Opera House. We watched an opera live there, and I have some nice memories, but obviously things didn't work out, didn't last very long. I came home and I'm sort of don't really dwell too much on that part of my life anymore. I just dust myself off and move on. I think that's all you can do.
No, it's just a fun story.
Yeah. But Australia, yeah. So how long were you there for?
So I lived in Australia for 2.5 years. I did Asia for about 10, 11 months, and I was in Australia for 2.5 years. And it was the first time I'd ever had a full-time job. The first time I was earning my own money. Before that, I was earning obviously my own money before, but it was an office job, which I swore forever that I'd never do.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it, that human beings, and they say I know, but I have to, but it's a choice. Voluntarily, we go and sit in a box with no fresh air, quite often with no natural light, in front of a screen for 8 or 10 hours a day. It ain't good for you, is it? And I know if I do that kind of work, especially if it's not for myself, for somebody else, I become depressed.
Yeah.
Big
time.
And so you were partying a bit then as well, because the job was sucking the life out of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was in sales, so we were selling life insurance. So it was high pressure, high sales. I wouldn't say it was the worst of tactics, but it's borderline ethical.
Yeah.
And for a long time, I didn't really see that because I was blinded by how much money I was earning. I'd never earned that much money before.
Yeah.
The commission was really good. The incentives were really good. I had a great time in the office with the people I worked with. Then as the market started changing and the commission started going away, I started realizing that this job isn't what I'm really pretending it is.
Yeah. It's as well, Sydney's a very fast-paced, 24-hour city. There's a lot going on, and I know, because I've been there, that a lot of people there, they're all getting plastic surgery. They're very materialistic. Yeah. Not everybody, obviously. There's some beautiful people, but there are certain crowds, especially if you go into the city, where, and like I say, cocaine, materialistic, and all on coke.
Yeah.
Certainly now, in the last 10 years or so. And you said that your housemate at the time took his own life.
Yeah.
Yeah. How old was he, Paris?
He was 22 at the time.
It's tragic.
Yeah.
Tragic, that. Yeah. That lifestyle, unfortunately, you can only do it for so long, I think. You can do it for a while, but then you need to retract from it, step back, and you can't sustain it. And anybody that tries to sustain that lifestyle for any period of time, it usually has an effect on the mental health, I think.
Definitely. It's not the positions that you're in and the jobs you do and the things you say and the way you act isn't normal. You're forced to be someone else, and you're manipulating people. I'm
the worst salesman in the world because I cannot be passionate about something that I don't believe in. I can't. I can't lie. I'm the world's worst liar. I stopped trying a long time ago. I just say it like it is. It upset a few people, but I can't lie. And I definitely can't sell. I'm just shit at it. If I'm passionate about something, then I won't have to try.
That's it.
You'll feel it. You'll know.
You shouldn't. If you can sell something, you don't need to be taught how to sell it.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you do, then there's something wrong with the product you're selling.
Yes. I can tell as well. You go into a car showroom or wherever, and somebody's trying to sell you something, and they've got this patter, and you'll take a car payment. Well, it's this much a month. I mean, it's the price of a newspaper a day, and they have all these sayings they use, and I think,
cup of coffee.
Who do you think you're talking to? Get rid of your bullshit and just tell me how much it is, and they have this pattern. When somebody's trying to slick me, be really smooth and try and sell me something, if I feel any pressure whatsoever, I walk away.
Yeah.
I will not be pressured. As soon as I feel I'm being pressured into buying something, I'm off.
That's it. Yeah. That's the best way to do it.
And then probably the last part of your journey that we're going to talk about before we just talk about crypto for a while is... Again, we won't go into too much detail, but you talked about one of your ex-partners, a girlfriend who was a drama queen, and basically to get your attention would frequently threatened to kill herself and this kind of behaviour. And excuse me. Again, I've been a party to that. I've seen that as well. And for there to be drama, for whoever's involved in drama by definition is something that's partaken by and completed by actors, you know. So when people are trying to be something they're not, they create drama. They're acting. Yeah. When you're yourself, your true nature, your inner voice, this bit inside here, what you are, your essence, your soul, and somebody else's, there is no drama. None, because nobody's acting. There's no drama created. And some people seem to have drama that follows them throughout their life. Yeah. And you think, oh, aren't they unlucky? No, generally, if somebody's got drama following through their life, they create it because they're not being true to themselves, you know.
Spot on.
Yeah, yeah. But I've encountered people like this where every time you see them, there's some major trauma and they need a lot of attention as well quite often, which is what it sounds like this partner was, you know.
Yeah, definitely. It was interesting because at the point in my life, I'd just broken up with the other one, long-term relationship. Then my best friend, who I lived with at the time, maybe 4 months later, took his own life. So I was in a very vulnerable state where I hadn't quite got over the relationship breakup yet. And then this happened whilst working the job I worked, where I was partying, drinking, doing drugs, smoking, just numbing everything that was going on around me. She kind of stepped in and she, bless her, brought me out of the dark place I was in. And that's one of the main reasons why we ended up being together, because I didn't want to go outside, didn't want to do anything. I literally went to work. I'd have a couple of drinks after work, but on the weekends I was in bed. I didn't go and see Sydney. I didn't do any activities. I was miserable. Full of anxiety as well, just to the point where I thought I was going to live like this forever, and I'd wake up with it, I'd go to bed with it. It was normal for me. That was my normal. But she really encouraged me to get out of that and helped me to see the light. So I know that's why she came into my life, for that reason. But at the same time, she helped me. Me being me and being a helper throughout my life, then felt obliged to help her. And that was kind of where the trap was, because she had the door to come in. Yeah. And then me being the empath, tried to help her, but she didn't actually want to be helped. She just wanted my energy.
Yeah. Energy vampire.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There are certain people you can be in the company, and some of them aren't malicious, they don't do it on purpose, but they suck the life out of you, don't they? And after you leave, you're like, oh, I feel exhausted, and you've been with them an hour, you know. And
gasping for air.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so Paris, let's do it. It's 2017.
Yep.
You're back. You realise that the £3,000 you would have put in crypto would now have been worth £300,000, and you get busy and you start learning about crypto. You also realise that although looking back on that, you'd be a rich man, if you hadn't done that, you wouldn't have found your spiritual path. So it needed to happen. It was just part of your journey.
Yeah.
So since 2017, you've then switched from trading and finance, and you've been avidly reading and researching about crypto.
Exactly.
So you're the guy, and I'm going to ask you some questions about crypto. So Paris, we'll start at the beginning. And we know what crypto is. It's a digital currency. We know Bitcoin is a type of crypto. So I'll ask you a few questions, 3 or 4 at a time, and you can answer them if that's all right.
Yeah.
So let's say I've got 10 grand in the bank and I want to invest it in crypto, because in theory, although it doesn't just go up, it can go up and it can go down. So it's like a stock or a share in some respects. Yeah. Crypto's moved outside banks and it's not within the normal banking system. So in theory, if the banks collapse, you still got your crypto, you know, and that's why, for lots of reasons, a lot of criminal fraternities have been interested in them. And also it can't be tracked as easy, you know, if you use an encrypted software and ways of transferring it, so that banks can't monitor it as easy. If I've got 10 grand and I want to buy crypto, where do I go? Is it a good time to buy? What are the benefits? What are the pitfalls? We'll start with that.
So if you've got 10 grand, where you'd go is you'd need to go to an exchange.
Is this a physical place or is it online?
So this is online. So the websites, essentially what an exchange is similar to if you wanted to buy a stock, you'd go and find the relevant website, sign up, deposit your money, and then you can buy what it is you're after. So the sites that I personally use, Coinbase, Kraken, and Binance, are some of the biggest exchanges. Kraken this year was given banking status in the US. Brilliant. So actually, they're not an exchange anymore. Well, they are an exchange, but they're also a bank. And that's
Is that good or bad?
It's good for the industry because it means it's going mainstream.
Right, but does it not mean then that if there was a great reset and all the banks crashed, that would go down too?
So this is where you protect yourself, and what you want to do is you use that to get into crypto and buy what you need. But you can buy, they're called hard wallets. I use Nano Ledger. So essentially what it is a USB. You plug it into your computer, whatever you have, you can send onto your Ledger, your USB, and put it in your pocket.
Right, so it's almost somewhere. Like a up your bum, smuggle it into a prison,
wherever no one's going to look. Do you know what I mean?
And so, let's say you have 1,000 Bitcoin, for example. Ooh. You can put them on a dongle.
Exactly.
So it's a digital physical currency.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. This is interesting. So I know where I can get it, and I've got 10 grand. How many Bitcoins would I get? We'll use Bitcoin as an example, because we're going to have to pick something. But it's one type of cryptocurrency. Yeah. If I buy a Bitcoin and I've got, say, 10 grand, how many am I going to get?
So at today's price, Bitcoin's about just under $20,000. So that would be, I don't know what the conversion rate is, but I'm guessing maybe around £13,000, £14,000.
Okay, so I wouldn't even get one Bitcoin. You wouldn't even
get half a Bitcoin with that.
So if somebody's selling something and it's less than a Bitcoin, do they sell it in fractions of Bitcoin?
Yeah,
so this is 1,000. This is 4,000th of a Bitcoin or something like that.
Exactly. So it's divisible. They're called satoshis, but just to make it easier, it's 0.01 of a Bitcoin, say.
Yeah. Well, this is a really good point. It's the only currency I know. The only currency I know where 10 years ago you get less of them for your investment. Than you did 10 years ago. If you had £1, 10 years' time, it's worth half of that. 10 years' time, it's worth half of that again. The rate of inflation means that you get less of that currency for your investment if you're exchanging it. This has gone up. This is why it's different. This is why it's unique. This is why it might be a good investment. And outside the banking system, instead of buying dollars or buying Deutsche marks or whatever. Yeah.
So Bitcoin is actually it's deflationary. So the supply is limited at 21 million. It can be changed in the future, but that's a lot to talk about potentially. So there's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin, let's say, for now. And
that's why it's going that right. Brilliant. Okay, so they can't just they're not with money they print more and print more and print more, don't they? Yeah.
So Bitcoins are introduced to the market through mining, which is essentially what started off 10 years ago, just a computer could do it, is now warehouses full of computers or CPU units that are running programs solving maths problems, algorithms. So they're cracking the codes, and whichever system cracks the code gets rewarded Bitcoin. So they have to complete the block. They get rewarded Bitcoin.
Right.
So when Bitcoin first was introduced to the market, if you completed the block, you'd get 50 Bitcoin. And then fast forward to now, it happens every 4 years, the cycle. The reward rate cuts in half. So it's 50, 25, 12.5, and the last halving is called halving, Bitcoin halving.
Who owns Bitcoin? Like a bank, the Bank of England might produce pound sterling. I'm not getting it. Who owns it? Where is it? Who owns Bitcoin?
Up for debate where or who owns Bitcoin, because
somebody somewhere has invented it and it started, hasn't it?
But this is the interesting thing. No one knows who that is.
This is like exciting, isn't it?
So the white paper for Bitcoin came out in 2008, I believe, just after the financial crisis, which is essentially a whatever page document explaining what Bitcoin is, how it's used, what it is, basically. So that came out, and it was produced by the name Satoshi Nakamoto. So you can assume that this one person, Satoshi, created Bitcoin, or it could be a group of people, but this person's never stepped forward to say that I created Bitcoin. So it's speculation. It could, people say it's the CIA, it's the government, it's Satoshi.
Can they not trade, like if you have a company or a person in this country, say like, a limited company, then it's got a trading address and you know where they are. And no? No.
So they can't. Well, they haven't been able to trace it back to the original creator, which is strange because if I buy drugs with Bitcoin, they can find me. They close down websites that do it, but you can't find the original creator.
Yeah.
Bear in mind the original wallet, which is owned by Satoshi, holds 1 million Bitcoin in it, and it's never moved since the inception.
So surely they can trace. Well, oh no, they can't because it's physical, isn't it? You can take it.
Yeah.
This is the bit that, God, this is fascinating because although it's a digital currency, there's no pound notes, but you can have it on a dongle. And 1 million Bitcoin can fit in a little dongle or something, couldn't it? Because it's just
exactly. Yeah. It's just a code. Yeah, essentially.
Fascinating. So the bit I didn't understand is when you said that they have warehouses full of computers cracked. That's blown my head off. That.
Right.
Try again with that one.
Right. So to receive a block reward.
So what's a block reward?
So on the blockchain. So how the blockchain works, you have a block, right? And the computers are solving a problem. So I can't remember how many minutes it is.
Why? I can't grasp the start of it. So what problem are they trying to cause? And what's a block?
So with the blockchain, basically, it stops the network from being able to be replicated. So, for example, let's say we've got a list of names. Your name's on there, my name's on there, and then Bob's the next name in the third block. Okay. So I'm block 2. Block 2 has been made. Once block 3 has been made, the previous blocks cannot be made. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
so
understand.
Create one block.
Yeah. Each time you make a new block, the previous blocks are fixed.
And that's cryptography.
Okay.
So that stops, obviously, data and information from being altered once it's created.
Got you.
So
what this is it. What you're actually doing now is I thought I'd understand the Bitcoin, but I don't even know the basics here. This is blockchain, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I get that. Yeah.
So that's blockchain technology, and that's what Bitcoin runs off of. It runs on a proof of work consensus, which means that you have to do something to be rewarded. And one of the downsides to Bitcoin is its energy consumption through using CPU units to solve math problems. So what you do is in China, where there's 60% of all of these warehouses, they're mining for Bitcoin, solving the math problems as fast as they can to receive the block reward. And when they crack the code, the miner gets, at this current point, 6.25 Bitcoin.
Right. And where does that come from? If there's only 21 million and people have already bought it, where does this additional...
So the 21 million hasn't been created yet. Well, 18.8 million or something around there has been, or it is in circulation. So every time the block is completed and you receive a reward, that's when you receive more supply.
So they could have all these warehouses and then they're going to hit the 21 million and then there's no more, is there? Yeah, and the value will go up again, but all this money they've invested. So there's people going around with big warehouses full of computers trying to...
Solving math problems to get Bitcoin.
I didn't know that. Yeah. So do you currently have Bitcoin?
I don't.
No?
I don't own Bitcoin, no.
Okay, but you have crypto?
I do, yeah.
Okay, tell us about that then. What do you have at the minute? I don't mean value, I mean, what type of cryptocurrency?
So the reason I don't have Bitcoin is because, in answer to your question earlier, you were saying about if you had 10,000 to invest, what would the price of Bitcoin be? The return on investment of Bitcoin, buying it at current price, it needs to double for you to double its money. So it needs to go from 20,000 to 40,000 a Bitcoin, right?
Yep.
I believe it will go there. It's probably going to go to 100, 300, 500,000. But your return on investment isn't going to be as great if you find, they're called altcoins, so alternative coins, which is basically a name for any other cryptocurrency that isn't Bitcoin.
So the things you talked about, are they unique to Bitcoin, or is it the same across other different cryptocurrencies?
It depends what crypto you're looking at. So this is where it may get a bit complicated.
So they don't all work the same?
They're derived from similar. So they use blockchain technology, for example, but they mentioned earlier, blockchain uses a proof of work network where you have to do something to get a reward. There are networks that don't do that. They use different consensuses where you don't have to use a lot of electricity, for example, like Bitcoin, to run the system.
Right.
So through my research, what I did is we were looking at altcoins, alternative coins, and trying to find projects where, with Bitcoin, essentially is seen as a store of value. So they refer to Bitcoin as digital gold because it stores value, and it's actually better than gold because you can send it. Whereas if you had a gold bar on your bed, I don't know how many you've got.
Yes.
If you wanted to buy a car with it, you've got to transport it, which isn't as easy. They're heavy. So I've been told. So it's compared to digital gold, but what has happened since the inception of Bitcoin is you now have cryptocurrencies that have utility, so real world use cases. So similar to the dot-com bubble or era where all these websites were coming out trying to solve problems, you had the introduction of online marketing, booking holidays online, whatever. You now have tech companies going into a similar industry to what internet companies did to solve problems that haven't been solved yet using blockchain technology. So one of my main investments is a cryptocurrency called XRP. It's created by a company called Ripple. They're based in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And they are solving the problem for the global transfer of payments. So bank-to-bank institutions and payment providers. I can't remember what book it was, but it was something on Warren Buffett. And it's the art of investing. And generally people say you need to diversify to reduce your risk.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with diversifying. That is a very good tool to use when you're investing in anything. You should diversify because it spreads out your risk. If something fails, at least you've got other things to fall back on. But the more you diversify, it actually just exaggerates your ignorance to what it is you're investing in. Because if you fully understood, then you wouldn't really need to diversify as much. Does that make sense? So,
yeah.
If you're looking at 30 or 40 companies to put your money in, if I asked you about them, you wouldn't be able to tell me a thing.
Yeah.
But if you have 5...
Yeah, you'd know a bit more. Yeah.
And then you're reducing your risk because you understand what you're putting your money into. If you went to a casino and you've got a 90% chance of winning compared to the casino down the road, which is 10%, obviously we'd love it to be 90%. It's not how it is.
Yeah.
But if you went into that casino, it's not as much of a risk because you know what's going on and you have the knowledge, whereas the 10% casino would be.
With XRP then, for example, so if you're investing in XRP, do you go through an exchange and what's, like a Bitcoin might be 13 grand. How does it work with XRP?
So exactly the same, and it works the same for all cryptocurrencies. So you'll need to sign up to an exchange. Not all exchanges have all cryptocurrencies, so for XRP, if you wanted to find it, it's best to find out which exchanges do have it. But the ones I mentioned do. The main ones do have most cryptos.
And how many cryptocurrencies are there?
Oh, good question.
Are we talking 1,000 or hundreds of thousands?
I think there's around maybe 4,000, 4 to 6 maybe.
And so, but somebody can come along and invent a new one or start a new one.
Right. And this is where the market's at the moment. Is you have a lot of cryptocurrencies that are projects, but they don't really do anything. They look good on paper. It's all bells and whistles.
Yeah.
So if you and I wanted to create a cryptocurrency, all we'd have to do is figure out first how to do it, which isn't that hard apparently, and then just say, oh yeah, this is what we want to do. This is how we want to do it, and put it on the market and find an exchange that will list it.
So there might be 4,000 cryptocurrencies, but ones that are actually what you might say, active, live, and worth investing in is less.
Yeah. So the last bull run, so bull runs when the market is going up, was in 2017 to 2018, the end of 2017 to about January. During this period, the market went up. Bitcoin hit 20,000 from 3,000, I think, in 27 days or something.
Right.
XRP went from 25 cents to $3.30 in 22 days.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it can go down just as quick, I suppose.
It can do. So what happened after that is the market has been going down ever since. So from 2017 to now, we've been in a 3-year bear market. So your bull is up, bear is down. So during this time, I've just been buying the whole way down. So people ask me, why have I been buying the whole way down? Or at least that's what you'd look at and think, why has he been buying on the way down? And it's called dollar cost averaging. So you buy at certain price points. So eventually, when it starts going up, you average out. Rather than say it was $3 and buy a whack then, you buy at $3, $2.90, $2.80, $2. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, are you expecting that you're buying it on the way down before it shoots back up? That's the idea. So you're catching it.
So based on what it is I'm invested in, I know that it's going to go eventually. So I don't want to be in a position where I'm not in the market and I miss that.
Yes.
That's what I experienced in 2017.
This is, I mean, classic trading. They'll crash an economy. There'll be a depression. Everything's on the way down. It's bottomed out. Everything's cheap as chips. And then banks will go in. They'll buy up all these shares. There's a lot of people that have made a lot of money when, for example, in America, when, you know, they had a big crash, or we've had, you know, the same thing here. And people seem to always know when to buy at the right time. It's as if they knew the crash was coming. Yeah. They buy up all the shares in certain companies while they're at the lowest, and then they shoot back up again. You know, I'm assuming it's that kind of thing, but obviously you don't know where that peak is or that trough is. So you know it's on the way down. You're expecting it to go up, and so that's your opportunity to get it.
So you're exactly right. So the crypto market is just as manipulated as the FX market and stock market and any other market that there is. The banks are in control of everything, and it's just a rinse and repeat for them, making monies at the bottoms, at the lows, and also at the highs.
The banks aren't, I mean, the whole point of crypto is that you're hopefully not governed by the banks, though, isn't it? So is it just Bitcoin that's outside the banks, or is it all crypto?
So as far as I'm aware, with cryptos, actually, to get into it, banks are developing their own cryptocurrencies, central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. So essentially, Bank of England is developing the Great British Pound, which is going to be a digital currency. I
suppose they're making it. We're getting very close to being a cashless system now, anyway. So in effect, the British Pound will be a digital currency, won't it?
It already is pretty much, anyway. How often do you see cash?
Yeah,
it's just a number on your.
It's a concern, isn't it? You know, being a cashless society. But yeah, I can see that now. That's going that way, isn't it? And then that's totally controlled by the banks again, which is a big point of crypto and Bitcoin is to get outside that loop, isn't it? You know?
So the selling point, of course, is decentralization. You don't want a centralized body controlling the money supply. So Bitcoin, for example, one of its selling points is decentralized. Well, arguably it's decentralized. China owns 60% of the nodes, which are where the miners work. So essentially, if the government of China decided that they didn't want Chinese factories or warehouses to mine anymore, of course the CCP could outlaw that within the day, and that would crash the.
Would it though? Would they all the?
Yeah.
If they're not still mining the blockchain, have I got this term? I'm using the right terms. Yeah. Surely what's in existence still stands.
Yeah, correct.
So the Bitcoin won't disappear or lose any.
Correct.
Yeah.
But the blockchain itself can stop, and China can seize control of that if they want.
Oh, right. So it's not as safe as it sounds, then, you think, or is it? Does China control that market then? I mean,
some people will argue with this. It's quite controversial what I'm saying to most, but if you look at it, China do control Bitcoin, and are they the creators? Who knows? But if they wanted to, they could stop the blockchain, and they could plummet the price. They could double spend on it. They can do loads of things if they wanted to.
Well, that's just pulled the carpet right out from under it. On Bitcoin, anyway.
On Bitcoin, yeah.
Yeah.
So
if you had £1 million tomorrow, how would you invest? I know how I would probably invest it down normal routes. Well, I know exactly how I'd invest it. But let's say we're going into crypto.
Yeah.
Maybe tell us, you've got a certain amount of money, what you'd be investing in. I know you've mentioned XRP, and strategically how you go about doing that. So you go through an exchange. Would you put it all in one cryptocurrency? Would you spread it? And would, is there others beside XRP? Maybe just give us, I've got some money, I'm going to invest. Where do I go?
Yeah. So, I mean, that would be the dream to have £1 million at this point to invest in the market. So what I would do is, we're pretty much at the bottom of the market still at this point, where we've bottomed out and we're just starting to rise and go back into the next bull run cycle, which I expect is going to happen around mid next year. So at this point, most cryptos are going to go back to their all-time highs, at least the ones that have utility and purpose. So there's 3 main ones. There's some other ones, but to cover them all would just probably fry everyone's brain.
Yeah, no, but we'll just pick an example. Run us through an example.
XRP would be one, mainly because it's going to be used. I mentioned about the banks are using, or they're creating. They've already created this. They're ready to press go, but they're going to launch their own digital currencies.
Yeah.
If you're America and I'm England, I don't want to hold the digital dollar, and you don't want to have the digital pound. So if I trade it with you, they're on different blockchains, right? So they're not interoperable. So you need a bridge asset or a bridge cryptocurrency to buy my pounds with for that, and then send that to you. So then you can change it into your currency. And that's where XRP is going to come in. It's going to be replacing the old financial system that we run on, which is the SWIFT, and it's been around since the 80s.
Yeah.
And we're going to replace it with XRP as the plumbing.
Yeah.
It settles in 3 to 5 seconds. It costs a fraction of a penny to send. I think the biggest transaction so far was $20 million, and it cost like 20 cents. Whereas at the moment, if you're in Australia and you want to send 20K to America, it's quicker and faster for you to jump on a plane with it in your suitcase than it is to send it.
Yeah, and if you do send it electronically, there's fees, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly. So that would be one. You've got XLM, which is a similar project, but that's going to be more used for personal transactions. So that will be like the cryptocurrency that we use instead of using the digital dollars or digital pounds if we want to. So it's all about payments again. And tinfoil hat moment, The Economist in 1988 produced a magazine.
Yep.
On the front cover, it's burning cash. You can look up once we're done, I'll show it to you. It's a picture of burning cash with a phoenix on top of it. And it says, there will be a one world currency. And the coin that's on the chest of the phoenix holds the logo, which is XLM, Stellar.
Right. So you think that's... And how long ago was this?
1988.
Bloody hell. So did they know, or is it...
Yeah, everything that we're witnessing now has been...
Pre-designed, planned.
Is the plan for ages, because the financial system, if they wanted to switch it to something else, they couldn't just one day be like, right, we're going to just digitize everything and this is going to be how we use it with crypto. You have to take down the old one first.
Yep.
And that's what's been happening this year.
Do you think that's coming, the Great Reset? Do you think that all the banks are going to crash? I asked this question. It's, some people don't want to talk about it, but I know there's a lot of worried people.
It's a tough one because I like to think, in terms of what they're trying to achieve, the Great Reset, there's 2 ways that it can go. There's the utopian version of it, or there's the dystopian version of it.
Yeah.
I think the decision of where that gets swayed is up to us, the people. So do I think the banks are going to crash? No, I think banks are always going to be around. I think they're always going to survive one way or another. But I think that we have the opportunity to exit from the banking system and become sovereign banking.
Yeah.
And the way we do that is getting into cryptocurrency, storing it offline, and being fully responsible for our wealth.
Then there'll be dongle wars, memory stick wars.
Yeah, man, you won't be able to tell people what you own, how much you own, or nothing, because people will be killing people for a Bitcoin, I'm telling you. Yeah,
but it's a nice idea, though, where you have certain wealth and it's not traceable, nobody knows, and it's nobody's business, is it? You know what I mean? You now also, Paris, besides investing and being involved in cryptocurrency, you're back doing a bit with the family business and selling clothes. Yeah, what are you selling now? What's now?
So they're still doing wholesaling. It's still wholesaling. We've still got our showroom. Obviously, this year's been crazy, so I've not actually really been doing much work at all since we went into the first lockdown.
Yeah.
So I'm on furlough, which has been a blessing because I'm still getting paid, but it's given me the time to explore myself. And
yeah, because I know, obviously, you're friends with Liam as well, and you've started off. Most of the stuff you've said, I understand, but there was something. So I know about breath work and ceremonies, but I don't know what deep shadow work is. What's that?
So shadow work is basically addressing your shadow self. So everyone has, of course, the person that you see and everyone sees and you see, but you also have the dark side of yourself that you detach from. And the whole point of the shadow work is you have to accept the things that you don't like about yourself.
Yeah.
Obviously, find out what they are and accept it, because it's a part of you. And if you go through your life hating a part of you, then that's where the negative emotion is. You have to accept it, and then you can work on it.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I know. The first part is recognising there is a problem.
Yeah.
You know, you can't solve a problem till you know there is one, and acceptance is a big part of that. And then you go, okay, so where do I go from here? Yeah, beautiful. So you're on this spiritual path, and you've done some ceremonies and cacao ceremony with Liam, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But you're a musician, play the guitar.
Trying
And
to.
And a DJ.
Yeah.
When did you start DJing? How recent is that?
So I started DJing. What were we in December? So bought my decks they came in October, end of September even.
Right, so it's new. It's a new thing.
Yeah.
I nearly bought some. They're in my, when you buy something online, and you can have things that you like but you've not bought yet in your saved list. And I've got a set of decks in there, and I've been twitching, but I know I just haven't. I've got to manage my time at the minute, and so if I bought them, they'd probably be sat there for a while. But it's something I'd love to do.
If you'd like a little whack, I'll give you a lesson then.
All right. Okay. Which ones are they? Tell me which decks they are.
So I bought some new marks because the ones I wanted, which were Pioneer DJ 400s, were sold out everywhere because during lockdown, everyone wants to take up DJing.
And then everybody's selling them off again cheap now, aren't they? Because they've all bought them, realised this isn't as easy as I thought it was, and they're selling them.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So I ordered them, and it took 3 weeks, and they hadn't turned up yet. So I rang up, and I was like, mate, where's my order? And he was like, oh, they're not going to be here to the end of October, Halloween probably. So I'm not waiting 4 weeks for this. So he offered me the new marks, and I got them. But last week I recently bought some XDJs, which are kind of the layout similar to club standard layout, but an all-in-one system.
And that's got the panel in the middle as well.
Yeah. So I got that last week. I enrolled myself on a DJ crash course. So I've been doing that over the last 2-3 months as well. And
so when you mix, it's digital with these decks, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you'll put your MP3 files onto it with a dongle or whatever, or rig it up to your laptop.
Yep.
Yeah. And then off you go. I've seen a couple of DJs recently because I've been watching some videos, and I know in theory, digitally, it's easier.
Yeah.
But easy or hard, compared to using 45s and 12 inches and things when they would, all of that. But still, the creative element, what song you mix with another song and how you do it and the end product is down to, it's an art. It's what goes on in here, isn't it? And I've heard some mixes recently. I'll play some after. I'll play one in particular after the show now. And, I've fallen back in love with music, I mean, not that I didn't, but I listen to this particular song and I can't stop moving. I can't stop moving around. Yeah, it's amazing. So
that's exactly what I'm like.
The last thing we'll talk about, Paris, is the men's group.
Yeah.
So the men's group that you're involved in, and that I know Liam's attends as well, is who organises that? Because I know you take turns at running it, don't you? Is that right?
Yeah. So when I went to the first ceremony of Liam's, through actually my breathwork instructor, Craig, who's a good friend of mine, met Liam, did the ceremony. It was incredible.
Was this a cacao?
Cacao and breathwork ceremony, yeah. And Liam was doing a talk about chaos in our lives and how, the chaos actually just leads us on to a better path, and we need the chaos. So through my journey, that's kind of what stuck with me, and it really resonated with me. So what I did for the 2-3 hours or whatever it was, is I went through my life, similar to how the book told me to balance things. I revisited all the times where I perceived chaos. And then I was just met with light, and I realized, wow, like I finished the journey in this place where I was like, well, I wouldn't be me, baby, if none of these things happened. And I was glowing in gratitude, and it was, wow, it really changed my life. So one of the guys behind me, Luke, we'd finished, and he introduced himself to me. And at this point, speaking to strangers it's quite foreign to me. It's something that I don't know why, but I think my anxiety stopped me from doing.
Yeah.
So what I'd done is 2 weeks before I went to the ceremony, I wrote in my journal and said, I need to connect with people that are on the same wavelength as me, because I'm in Manchester. It's a fairly new city. I don't know anyone, and I need to be around people that are like me and find them people.
Yeah.
So then fast forward 2 weeks, I'm at the ceremony. Luke introduces me to himself. And he basically says, oh, like I used to run a men's circle in London. I've been thinking about doing it. And I was just like, do it. I'll come. Do it. And he was like, would you? I was like, mate, yeah, take my number. So we exchanged numbers, asked a couple of the other guys, made a WhatsApp group. Me and Luke went to the first one. And then I think it was 7, 9, 11, 13 people.
So if somebody wanted to find out a bit more, possibly Paris, or come to the men's group, it's open to the public, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what I'll do, when we post this video, when it goes live, underneath, I'll put a link to your Facebook so that somebody can message you if they're interested.
Wicked. Perfect.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Paris Brookes, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've loved listening to your story and finding out about your journey. And crypto, I've got to go away and try and process everything you told me, I think, and especially the bit about the mining, that blew my mind. But I really, really appreciate you coming in. You're a beautiful soul and a cool motherfucker.
Appreciate you too.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, folks, thanks very much for watching. I'm going to leave you with a quote from my book, From Pills to Peace. The music you hear inside is your dharma. Dance to it. This has been Midnight McBride. You can catch me every week on Salford City Radio 94.4 FM at 11 till 12 p.m. or midnight till midnight. You can catch this show twice a week, actually 3 times a week now on YouTube. And then 3 days later, it also comes out on Podbean, Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, Google, and various others. You can buy the book on Amazon in paperback and Kindle. You can also get the audiobook on Amazon, ACX, and iTunes. And you can catch me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And you can also go to the website, midnightmcbride.com. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the show, and I'll see you next time. Shalom.
This is my baby, this one. This is what we call in the crypto space, they'd call me a maxi.
Yep.
But what I'd say is I'm not a maxi. I've just done my due diligence.
So just pause and say it again.
What I'd say is that I'm not a maxi. I've done my due diligence. Why can I?
Do it again. Go on, do it again.
Due diligence.
Yeah, so pause and then just say it again.
What I'd say is I'm not a maxi. I've done my due diligence. You know what? We'll just get rid of that one. Just not do that one. It's not happening.
Not your due diligence.
So yeah.
I'm going to play this song after.
Whatever.
It's called Heaven.
Heaven.
Yeah. Do you know it?
When heaven's walking through the door.
Yeah, that's it.
Just give me the light.
That's it.
In the darkness. Yeah,
brilliant, beautiful.
Banger, man.
Beautiful. I heard it a couple of weeks ago. I posted it on my Facebook, and then I heard it again at the weekend. And the first time I heard it, I had no idea who it was or whatever.
Yeah.
The guy who'd played it, he did a DJ set, listed the tracks underneath, so got it now.
That's the one.
Yeah.